right, guys. This episode is all about prices. Right? I know it can be like a taboo almost to talk about prices. So it's like what I want to do is shed some light on just maybe like you should be charging. Like we're going to really dive into this whole price thing and how we can all charge more and why we should charge more and how we're worth more than we think we are. So it could be a like I said, prices. Like Mackenzie mentioned earlier, she's like, I want you to talk about this a little bit more than I talk about it.
I like talking about money, but I also don't like talking about money.
So I really just want to start at the very beginning in I think it was 2013. I had a Canon 60D camera. That's the one with a little flip out screen. It was a crop sensor. And my friend from high school got a hold of me on Facebook and he was just like, dude, you have a camera, right? Do you want to film my wedding? And I was like, yeah.
That was different than my answer when someone asked me.
I literally think, I'm trying to think. I think to that point I had been to maybe one or two weddings.
So you knew what you were doing.
Like even just been like to a
Attended.
wedding. I think maybe 2 or 3 before that, maybe. And it was a Catholic wedding, I remember. But I was just like,
oh no.
I was just like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, let's do it. You know, like I'm all for it. And I made one of the biggest mistakes in my life. Not taking the wedding, but the next thing that he asked was, you know, what should I pay you? What do you want paid? And I made the mistake of just being like, I don't know. Like, we'll figure it out later. Just whatever you think's best. That's a huge mistake. And also it's something that I never forgot because it really taught me a lesson. And that wedding came and I was filming it and it was a Catholic wedding and we were at a bar between ceremony and reception. And I remember he was like, you want me to pay you now or you want me to pay you later? And I was just like, whatever you want, you can pay me later. I was real passive and I was like, I just didn't want to deal with it. And he's like, I'll pay you now. It's cool. And he whips out his wallet and he pulls out a $20 bill. And then he pulls out another $20 bill. And then he closes his wallet.
I wish I could have seen your face.
Right. And he says, is this enough? And I remember, I think he said, is this enough? And I remember just being like, I didn't say no, but I wanted to be like, no. And whatever. I took it and that was it. So yeah, I got paid $40 for the first wedding I'd ever filmed. Now this was 7 years ago, I think. And I got paid $4 for one reason. That's because I didn't know my worth. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously he didn't know my worth. That's fine. That's not really on him. That's on me. Like, it's like a lesson that it's like, you're worth more than you think you're worth as a photographer, videographer. Our jobs aren't easy. They're hard. I don't care what anyone says. Like, they're the most important days in someone's life, and we have to document them. Like, our work's going to last forever. They're going to show their kids, their grandkids. So it's like, if we miss a moment, if we're a split second late on a moment, it's not going to be repeated.
No,
so like,
and it's our fault.
Yeah.
Entirely.
So yeah, like our jobs aren't easy. I mean, some of us are, great at it and like we don't stress about that stuff. And I think I'm to a point now where I don't really stress too much about weddings. It's just kind of a routine.
I do.
Yeah. It's kind of a routine, but like sometimes I still will, I guess. But like, but no, our jobs aren't easy. So like we're worth more than we think we're worth. And I truly believe that. And when it comes to pricing, you might be like, well, what do I charge? Should I charge this? Should I charge that? Honestly, right now, I would say it depends on experience is one thing. How good you are, obviously, is another.
Equipment.
I mean, equipment I would say to a fault, like a little, or like, equipment a little bit, but also.
See, equipment's a lot, at least from a photo standpoint and editing and flash power and all that. It goes a long way.
But I'm saying it could work both ways. So like you could have the best equipment ever, but be a bad photographer.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's like you have to be firing on all cylinders. Like you got to be good at everything.
Yeah, I think what you meant was like, let's say you have $20,000 of equipment. Well, you better charge more so you can pay that off, so you can get money back.
See,
that's part of it. Is that what you meant, or no? Like, or just like
not really.
If you have that equipment, you better be good.
From a quality of work standpoint, yeah. Because delivering photos, like every photo that's grainy or, can't handle certain lighting situations or, again, the megapixels, like, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
Especially people print these things out and you can't have it, like, all pixelated and...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, the quality has to come with it. So what I would say is the market, your market depends on you. It depends on people in the middle, the top, and at the bottom. Everyone affects the market. So let's say the best 3 photographers or videographers, we'll use Cincinnati as an example. Let's say that they all charge $10,000. Let's say the 3 best photographers, they're all about 10 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the worst 3, you know, let's say they're like, let's say $300 a wedding. I don't know. Obviously, it's a giant difference.
Yeah.
So when a bride contacts or she gets a hold of photographers, she tells all the photographers her budget's $1,000. Obviously, $10,000 is out of the budget.
They're out, yeah.
But you get those other photographers that say, "Oh, I charge $300," and then suddenly you get people that are undercutting each other to try to get that bride. Oh, I'll do it for $250. I'll do it for $200. That's making the market get worse. So like we all need to raise our prices so that the bottom of our market is a higher number. And what I mean by that is we need to piggyback off each other in a sense of we can all get better by raising our prices right now. So like if everyone right now listening to this raise their prices by like 10%, maybe that's too much, maybe a couple $100. Everyone raises the price $200, let's say. Well, then when that bride gets a hold of people and she says, my budget's $1,000, and the photographer she talks to are all charging $1,500, $2,000, $2,500. Well, then that bride just realized, oh, well, maybe to get these good people, my budget needs to be higher,
Yeah.
which is great for the market. Well, then suddenly she says, okay, well, I guess my budget's $2,500 now instead of $1,000. Well, then that's going to snowball. Like her friends are going to have a higher budget because now that's what she paid. Mm-hmm. Her 3 sisters that are getting married the next couple of years. Like that just makes the market go higher because people that still, and again, there's always someone out there who's going to do it for cheaper. It sucks, but that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's always a videographer, photographer who will lower their price or already charges less to get the booking. And that's nice short term for them, but it's not a long-term solution. We all need to get out of the like, oh, I just need to get this booking.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of, oh my God, no one's ever going to hire me again. Don't think that way. It's not true. And a good thing about raising your prices is you'll get people that value your work. If
Definitely.
Again, if someone says my budget's $1,000 and you say, well, I charge $1,200, and they say, sorry, budget's $1,000. We're gonna hire someone else, and then you say, no, I'll do it for $800.
Oh man, yeah.
Sure, you got
Stick to your
$800. That's cool,
guns,
but now you're getting a photographer that clearly doesn't value you because they wouldn't pay your price. So not only are you getting less money now, you're getting a client that, in all honesty, doesn't care that much about you and your work. And that sucks.
And honestly, they'll probably say to their friends, like, hey, if you just ask, like,
Yeah.
they'll probably lower their price for you. I don't think I've ever, like, lowered my price unless we've either, like, cut hours or something like that. Because, again, I know how much work goes into this,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that I am worth this work and time, and you know, it's mentally exhausting, physically exhausting, financially, like, you know, we got to keep our stuff taken care of, and, you know, it's a lot. So
it is. And it can be overwhelming to even think about pricing. But you know what the best feeling ever is? When you say, this is my price, and the bride says, no, like, I think it's a little out of our budget. And then she gets a hold of you 3 weeks later and says,
we're going to make
we
work.
decided we
Yeah.
want you. Like, well, then you're getting your price because, you know, you didn't budge. You got, your prices are what your prices are. And also now you're working for someone who stretched their budget for you. Clearly they love your work if they did that. Otherwise they wouldn't do it. So you're working for essentially like a dream client. Like you don't have anything to worry about. I'll have some weddings coming up. Well, I think I may have one coming up. And again, I think I booked it like 2 years ago, but like you'll have one coming up where you kind of know, you get that feeling of like, this bride doesn't really care about me. And you know why? Because I lowered my price by 25% when she booked me. You know what I mean? It's like, and I almost never do that. But I feel like I did it a while back, and it still hasn't happened yet because of the virus. So it's like, so it's just sort of like, that feeling of like, oh, I have a wedding coming up. You don't want to feel like, this bride really doesn't care about me because I had to lower my price to book her. You want the opposite feeling of like, she paid my prices. This bride loves me. That's a feeling that's so good. Your wedding overall will be better that way. Trust me. and you can blow them away with your work. It's just great. So you want to do it that way. But I would say, so I charge, my average booking is probably close to 4,500. I would say the average is probably pretty close to that. Maybe a little more. 4,500 I would say is pretty close. So, and a couple years ago I was charging like 1,400, 1,600. But like the good thing is there are people in every market who will pay the price for work that they think is of value.
Mm-hmm.
So if you again, I mentioned before, you could charge $10,000. You might get less bookings, but someone will book you. Someone was going to think you're worth it. I mean, probably, I don't know. Don't change your price to $10,000 now if you charge like, $3,000, but like, it's just like, you're probably going to get those bookings. But to me, I would rather do less weddings for a little bit more money.
Oh yeah.
Than do more total weddings for less money, because I'm getting more brides that don't care about my work as much because they're paying less, and I also have to do more weddings. So it's like I would rather do 20 weddings for like $5,000 a piece or more than do 40 weddings for 2,500. Trust me, you'll like those 20 weddings. You probably like every one of those 20 weddings versus you'll like a fraction of those 40 weddings because those brides did not care about you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the market. It's all about value. And I'm trying to think where I heard this. I think it might have been a videographer in one of the videographer groups. Like, I can't remember who it was. Great. Like, their business is amazing. Like, they're great at what they do. I think they said, raise your price by $150 every booking. And that sounds like a lot. Listen, they say $150 every booking. So let's say, I'm just using nice round numbers here. So let's say $1,000. Someone books me. Now I charge $1,150. So when the next bride gets a hold of me and she says, oh, I want to book you, and I say $1,150, and she books me, then I do it to $1,300.
Whoa, dog.
And let's say I'm at $1,300, and the next bride says, I think you're a little out of our budget. Go back down to where you just were the last one. Stay at $1,150. And if the next bride after that says the same thing, I think you're a little, stay there.
Okay.
So go back once and don't go back again. But every booking, keep going up.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they said that that's how they've been doing it. I think they probably charge at least $10,000 a wedding video.
Well,
so
then
like,
they can do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying now they do, but it's like,
slowly build
it's
up
not
to
only
that.
about making the money, it's about working for people who value what you do, because those weddings are going to be better for you long term. So,
and I feel like the more you shoot and the longer you're in the wedding game,
mm-hmm.
the more like specific your clientele gets and like people that you vibe well with, and it's just like your people. And yeah, the group probably becomes smaller, but
mm-hmm.
again, you're charging more, which
Yeah.
is nice. So yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah. You just really need to not be afraid to be like, you can't think, oh my God, what if someone never hires me again because I'm more expensive now? I thought that way 2 years ago. And there will be weeks, sometimes months, where you won't get a booking. That's fine. That's the way it is sometimes. Sometimes it'll be 2 months and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to sell my house. Like, you get that thought in the back of your mind, like, what if no one ever hires me again? And then suddenly the next week you'll book 4 people.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Those are good.
So don't psych yourself out. You'll be fine. Because long term, if you want to grow as a business, the prices have to go up. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere as a market. And what I'm saying is the people toward the bottom will stay at the bottom if they keep charging the same prices.
Yeah.
But our bottom as a market will go up. So, and if the bottom goes up, the middle goes up. If the middle goes up, the top goes up. So, what do they say? It's a rising tide, rising tide raises all ships. That's how it is, right?
Yep.
So it's like we all benefit from everyone doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think,
No,
the
go
big thing for me is I feel like the beginning of every year, I'm like, where's everyone at? Like, where are
Mhm.
my inquiries? And then I'm like freaking out, like, are my prices too high? And then they start coming in, all the bookings, and then like they take a break. And I'm like, crap, like, how am I going to fill up next year? And then they all come in again, and then my year is spoken for because I only take so many a year. And then I have people coming in well after, for instance, booking 2021 weddings, and I'm full. People are still going to try to book you
Yeah.
and want to pay you like your full price. So don't freak out if you don't get everything like in the first few months.
You don't want to shoot
because-
yourself in the foot, and then the
Yeah.
last 4 months of the year, you're like,
Don't
I'm already
lower it, yeah.
all booked up, and they're from people that I had to lower my price
Yeah.
for.
What if you lowered your price for a couple that like you weren't even super in love with or something, and now you have people like, oh, I was dying for you to shoot my wedding, and now you're booked.
Yeah.
So just stick to your guns. Charge what you charge. Don't lower it like
Don't
unless
stop lowering
there's a
and
good
start
reason. Yeah.
raising.
Yeah.
Trust me.
You will get hired if your
yeah.
talent is there.
Photo and video should be even more expensive than they are. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
I
if you're a
know.
bride listening to this.
Yeah.
It's
So
the last
you're
thing
welcome.
it's the last thing you want to hear, but it's true.
Yeah.
In comparison to a lot of other vendors, it's like our stuff does last forever, and it's, you know, we should be more expensive, but like there's a reason why there are some people that can charge 25 grand per wedding video, and I know people who do it, and there are people who, and those people all have the same thing in common. The people who work for them are foaming at the mouth to hire them, versus the people who never grow as a business, the people who charge the same thing for 5, 10, 15 years. Those people are foaming at the mouth to get bookings, and that should be the other way around. You know what I'm saying? People should be trying so hard to book you because that's where the value is. Instead of you trying so hard to get those brides, so you lower your price to do it, you're not going to grow as a business owner doing that. And again, I've done it, so I don't want to sound like hypocritical, but I haven't done it in a long time. And also, you just like, you're going to thank yourself. Sometimes it's better to be like, you know what? I didn't book that one. She wouldn't pay an extra $250. That's
You
fine.
probably don't want that wedding.
Yeah, don't.
anyways.
Yeah, you probably don't want that wedding, because if $250 is the difference of her, she was probably gonna, even after you said, okay, I could do that price, she's probably gonna try to lower it again. It's like, don't settle for that. People should be, people should be booking you.
I feel like I hate to say this, but the cheaper couples, they're like harder to deal with. Like they want more from you. Especially you give them a deal, they're like way too much work and asking for this and super high maintenance.
Yeah.
So honestly, the people that are willing to pay the price, I think, are easier to work with.
That's a byproduct of what I've noticed of like of being a little bit more expensive. I've personally found, I know it sounds weird, you would think that people that pay more money would be more, oh, it needs to be this way, and you got to be, they'd be more picky. It's not true.
They're more like,
It's
I
the
trust
opposite.
you.
Yeah,
Tell me what to do.
They know your worth. It all
Yeah.
comes back to the worth. So if someone spends $5,000 to have me film their wedding or more, they're more likely to be like, do your thing, and also let me know what you need from me, which is
Yeah,
nice.
oh, I love.
So it's
when
almost
they say
like
that.
you get more pull that way doing it, versus if you're booked for, super cheap, you're along for the ride, and like that's, you're doing whatever's
Usually
happening.
they're trying to add hours
Yeah.
without paying you extra. But honestly, what the best thing is when a bride, like before they're even engaged or something, is like, when I get engaged, you're shooting my wedding. I already know I want you. And then it's like literally the day after they get engaged, you get hit up with that message like, I just got engaged, blah blah. Like, here's your table, and I love that. So excited.
And that's something that like doesn't happen to people who undercut each other and try to lowball. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. You have to be confident in what you're doing and what you're selling. And honestly, what we're selling are, again, things that are going to last forever. It's not like we're trying to screw people over. Not at all. Like, it's just not the case. Like I said, we should raise our prices. So, we're not trying to screw people over. We're just worth more than what we think we are. So when a bride contacts me, one of the first things I tell her is like, I want to put the money that you're wanting to spend in a way that you get the most value out of it. You know what I'm saying? So if the bride says, again, my budget's $4,000, and I'm like, okay, for my lowest package, you get this, but you might also want this, and that might be more valuable for you. I know you think that, 4,000's the budget, which is fine, but like, it might be best for you based on your wedding and what you've told me so far as a bride. Here's what you'll get. So I'm super honest with my couples, and I find that gets me more money instead of less. So if I say, you know what, you don't want the raw footage, trust me, even though they would have paid $500 for it, and I say they don't want it, I've just gained their trust because I've told them that. I'm super honest with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they're going to say, you know what? We'll book this teaser. We'll book this ceremony film. We'll do, a short film. People love that. And it's also true. Like, I want them to feel like they got everything they wanted. I don't want them, maybe I get 500 extra bucks and that's great. But I don't want them to leave feeling like, oh, we really didn't need that. And I kind of feel like Chris screwed us over. That's not a good thing. So I say, no, trust me. I think you're going to want this and this, and that's it. If you want something else after that, you can wait till after your wedding, and you can purchase stuff later if you really want. So honesty is a big one. But one thing that I do is, this is how my pricing guide is structured. I call it my investment sheet. It sounds cooler than pricing guide. So, because at the end of the day, long-term investments are what photography and videography is. We're investments for the wedding. I know it sounds maybe a little pretentious, but it's true. It's totally true. We're investments. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah.
What I personally do is I make my first collection an easier day for me if someone books it, but also good value for someone. So you could say bare bones might be a way to say it, but it's like someone who really wants my work, their budget's a little lower, but they're also going to be happy with what they get.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a it'd be like a short highlight film in like 8 hours. And the second collection, I have it be a good amount more than the first collection, but they get a lot more. But it's also something that it's probably the most like whatever I like to do the most. So like it'll be a teaser, a little bit longer of a highlight, and probably like a ceremony film, or like the speeches and dances, like the bread and butter basically is what it is. It's what you book the most. It's meant to have people look at the first collection and say, I don't know, and then look at the second one and go, oh, like a lot more for not that much more. That's the whole point. It's not like some sleazy sales tactic. It's just the way it is. Like, you want people to book that second collection. Again, it's your bread and butter. And then the third collection, pretty much I put most everything I do, but it's enough. I charge enough money to where when someone books it, I'm not like, oh crap, I got a lot of work coming. Like, you want to be like, awesome, let's do like, they're getting this and this and this, cool. They're getting pretty much everything I offer at this price, but you want it to be enough to where it's not like, you don't want to be shooting yourself in the foot a year later when when that wedding comes time to shoot and you're like, I can't believe I have to do all this and I only charge this much. So you want to make that one a lot more. That's how I do my pricing. 3 collections, but I also have add-ons, aka like a la carte. And then I also do other films. You could do like a what do you want to call them? Like a feature film or like a short film. But it's mostly highlights. And I really tell my couples, you might think you'll want an hour and a half long film. I don't think you're ever going to watch it.
I would agree with that.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? We're in a day and age where people want things in
short,
a smaller
sweet
dosage, but higher concentration.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Like, people want our generation. We want something now, and we want it awesome. We want it right now.
Keep our attention,
right?
Because I feel like that's so back in the day, like the huge hour-long wedding documentary.
We live in an Instagram, TikTok world right now.
Yeah, we do.
Ooh, this is really cool. Scroll, next one. This is really cool. Next one. That's just how we are nowadays. Heck, we get freaking Chipotle delivered to our door in 20 minutes from our couch via our cell phone. Yeah. So it's like, we want something right now, and we're going to get it. Yeah. So that's just kind of that's just the world we live in. So I'm like, you're going to watch that hour and a half long film probably once or twice in your life, and you're going to overpay. You're going to, you pay for it. It's not going to be worth it. So again, that comes back to the value where I'm like, you're probably not going to want that, but some people do, and that's fine.
My pricing's kind of the same, and we've talked about it a lot. So I have 3 tiers. Same thing with yours. The first tier is pretty much like just your basic package for those who like don't want to spend a lot of money.
It's an easy day
falling
for you.
On a budget. Yeah. So for me, that's like 7 hours, me a second shooter, like still a good amount of images. We're going to get everything. Second one is the one I like to shoot the most. And obviously it's a little more money, but I also include an engagement session in there, some printing credit, which is nice, more time, more photos. And then the third one is like for someone who just wants to ball out, same thing, basically everything I offer. So yes, it's a lot more work, but I am bringing in more money for it.
Yep.
But yeah, my second one is definitely my most popular.
I would say
I like to shoot it the most, but it's worth it, you know?
Yeah, I would say 75% of your bookings should be
Your
that middle one, I would say. And if it's not, let's say it's the top one. Well, good news for you. You can raise your prices.
Yeah, you should raise them
Make
at
that
that
one
point.
your middle one and have, adjust it. If more people are booking the first one, maybe not even lower your prices. Maybe, let's say that everyone books your first collection, right? Well, take stuff away from that collection, put it in the second one, and up the second one a little bit. Like, kind of adjust it a little bit. Yeah, so you can still book that first one. That's fine. But don't like let the price suffer. Maybe it's a little bit more work, or just move some stuff, kind of restructure it. I don't know if it's ever happened to me, but I know people that have missed out on bookings because they didn't charge enough. It's like people thought they weren't getting enough value because they were so cheap.
That was probably me like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember my first wedding I ever shot, I charged $750,
which is pretty damn good
for
me.
Your first I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they even hired me. It's a lot of money though
for someone who's done it.
Yeah,
never.
And
never
I
done
mean,
it
like I third shot probably 4 times, so I knew enough. But I had a second shooter that day too. I shot for like 14 hours. It was insane, but yeah. I was pretty proud and also scared that I charged that much. And I even told them, I was like, guys, this is my first wedding I've ever led by myself. Like, you're taking a chance with me, and they trusted me, and luckily, like, it all went well, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's all, look, prices. You think they're scared. Like, yeah, oh my God. Like, it's literally our income. So I get that it's, you're hesitant to just up it and, lower it. You don't want to do that.
But again, adjust it until it like works for you. There's no rule like where you can only change it so many times a year or whatever.
Definitely just it's going to be uncomfortable to raise your prices at first, and you're going to think, "Oh my god, it's been a month and no one's booked my new prices." And you get scared and you lower them. If you're that confident in them, like leave them how they are. Cuz it's only going to, be good in the long run. You definitely don't psych yourself out about it. Every photographer or videographer who's ever been successful has raised their prices so many times. You know what I'm saying? It's like people I don't know who's the best photographer in the world. I have no idea. They probably charge a lot of money for, best wedding photographer in the world. They probably started at a couple $100.
Yeah.
And then they went to a couple thousand. And then there was a moment where they changed their price and they were probably like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? It's just the way it goes. So it's just part of doing this, as a business owner, and it can be scary, but if we all raise our prices collectively, like good things can happen. Not only just the Cincinnati market, but like just photographers and videographers in general. If the average cost of a videographer right now, let's say in the country, is like $2,500, I don't know. A year from now, if it's $3,500, like that's great. Mm-hmm. And then a couple years from now, it's like suddenly we're all going up because the people toward the bottom are raising their prices. Like we're only as good as honestly as like whoever does it for the cheapest.
Right.
Our market just goes up. So what do you think of that?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
A lot of good information here.
Yeah, for
Chris.
sure. So yeah, and that does it for pricing. And if you have any more questions, hit Mackenzie or I up. Join the Facebook group if you haven't already. So You Shoot Weddings. Super constructive, educational. We try to post in there a couple times a week. Get feedback. We're all about helping each other, so it's not, it's not one of those Facebook groups where you're like, ugh.
Don't be afraid to talk to us or start a conversation, because we want that. We want you to reach out and get things going.
Yeah, I love getting random Instagram messages, honestly, from people that are like, hey, dude, I need help with this or whatever. Like, if you want to do like a
bring it to the group.
Mentorship. If you want to do a mentorship, we're down for it. If you just have some questions, ask us in the group. You can ask the group in general. We're not the only people that will provide answers.
Yeah, other people will definitely.
Yeah, like I said, hit us up. We're all about making everyone better, so that's the whole point of this. And like I said, if you have any questions, just get a hold of us. But I think that does it for this episode, and we'll see you guys next week.